Hello everyone, this is Kapil Games, and you are watching the guide for using the Immersive full-body FPS controller. There will be quite a lot of material, but you can always jump to any topic using the timestamps. So let's start with the installation process. Download and import the asset into your project. Unity will automatically suggest updating the required dependencies, animation rigging and input system. If you already have a newer version of these plugins installed, nothing will change. After the import, a message should appear asking to update the physics layers. If this message doesn't appear, you can open it manually through Tools, Immersive Full-Body FPS Controller, Setup Layers. Press Apply if you haven't configured physics layers in your project yet. Otherwise, it is recommended to configure the layers manually. Please note that asset requires the following layers to function correctly: player, other player, foreground, damage collider, enemy. It is recommended to keep these layers in their original position to avoid reconfiguring many objects in the example scene. Next, go to Project Settings, Physics. Here, the automatic setup disables interaction between the damage collider layer and all other layers, except player and enemy, so that only those two can receive damage. Now the asset is installed and ready to use. However, if you are using HDRP, the materials in the example scene will break. To fix this, go to the Materials folder, select All Materials, and change the shader to HDRP Lead. Done! Now let's see how to prepare a character model to work with the controller. I will demonstrate everything using Woman in Blender. First, pay attention to the bones. The highlighted bones are essential for the controller to function. Your skeleton may contain more bones, but it must not contain fewer, otherwise many features will stop working. For a quick start, I recommend using an identical skeleton with the same bone names, so that the controller's default animation can be applied to your character. Now let's look at the bone control zones. Red – Inverse Kinematics, IK. Blue – Controlled by code. Green – Controlled by animation. It is important that only one system affects each bone, otherwise a conflict will occur and the animation will break. This is why the skeleton cannot have fewer bones. Finally, the mesh must be divided into at least 3 parts. Head, so it can be hidden. This prevents the player from seeing the nose in first-person view. Foreground. This should contain the arms and the upper torso. This ensures these parts do not clip through walls when they physically should. Everything else. This part has no special requirements. If your character is prepared correctly, we can now return to Unity and connect it to the controller. Copy the original player or add a new one from the prefabs folder. There are 2 cameras inside, one for first-person mode, one for spectator mode, and of course the character object, where the model will be placed. Disable the main object, but do not delete it. It will serve as a reference for configuration. Add your character and reset its position. Next, I recommend enabling Bone Render. For those unfamiliar with it, this simply displays bones as gizmos, making them much easier to work with in the scene view. Now let's examine the contents of our new player. This is where the entire controller system is located. There are many scripts based on the character controller. Let's adjust the character controller, since woman is slightly smaller than man. Adjust the height of the capsule. Since the capsule scales relative to its center, move it downward along the y-axis. The character will drop below the floor, so we compensate by adjusting the character object position. Your character model must remain at local position 0. Now the character controller is configured. Next is Player Manager. This is the core of the controller. It connects all other scripts into a single system. All scripts must reference your character model. The character is already correct, but camera position is inside the man object. Since man will be removed, we must move camera position to woman. Place it inside the torso bone. Camera position determines the first-person camera location, and it is also the point the spectator camera will look at. Move the object to the character's eye level. Next field, Animator. Obviously, this should contain your character's animator component, which currently doesn't exist. We can simply copy it from man along with the other components. Copy Animator, Rig Builder, Event Animation. The Animator handles animations. Rig Builder enables IK. Event Animation allows methods to be triggered at specific animation frames. For example, restoring player control when the Get Up animation finishes. After copying these components, assign the character's animator to the player manager. Next are scripts without parameters. They require no setup, but I will briefly explain them. Player Look processes mouse input and rotates the character. Player Move processes keyboard input, mixes it with physics simulation and outputs player movement. Player Impact stores player states and triggers damage effects such as stun or knockdown. Player View switches between first person and spectator modes. In the array, assign meshes that should be hidden in first person view. In our case, this is the neck and head. Player Camera Base handles camera offsets relative to the camera position object. Everything here is already configured. Character data contains configuration parameters specific to the character. They are purely numeric values and can remain at their defaults for now. In the next video, I will explain what each parameter does. Character Body controls body position and rotation. Assign the bones controlled by code: pelvis, torso, head. Character Arm is used for interaction between code and the arm animation layer, such as sword swings or weapon reloads. The asset doesn't include these animations, but the system is prepared for them. Character Move controls leg placement and adaptation to the surface. The parameters here include a group of objects related to IK. Move the arms and legs objects to the root of your character. Now configure IK. I will not go into detail, because this belongs to the animation rigging plugin. Simply assign the appropriate bones for all 4 IK systems: 2 for the arms, 2 for the legs. Move the IK objects to the position of the guide bones. Finally, the character Ragdoll script. Ragdoll setup takes quite some time. If you don't need this feature, disable the script and skip ahead using the timestamps. Otherwise, let's configure the Ragdoll. First, assign all K-bones in the body list. The script stores their default positions so it can restore them after Ragdoll mode. Next, we use Unity's built-in Ragdoll tool. Open Game Object, 3D Object, Ragdoll. Assign your character avatar to the bones manually. Then press Create. Unity will automatically configure about half of the setup. If the result is not satisfactory, you can adjust the colliders manually. Usually Unity assigns joint limits incorrect, so we will copy the limit settings from man. However, when copying these settings, bone references may break or disappear. Restore them. Now all scripts, IK systems and Ragdoll settings are ready. Only a few steps remain. Because the Ragdoll now has volume, we should prevent it from interfering with raycasts. Select the skeleton root armature and assign the Ignore Raycast layer. Apply this to all child objects. Next, assign the foreground layer to the arm and torso meshes. To prevent Unity optimization from breaking first-person mode, select all meshes and enable Update when off screen. Now you can safely delete man. Lower first-person bias slightly to eye level. Disable the default player to avoid camera conflicts. And one final step before testing. In the Direction object, assign our new player in the General Player Manager field. Done! Run the scene and test the controller. Even if everything works correctly, animation will still require tuning. And that completes the process of connecting your character model to the controller. If you enjoyed this video, support the development of new assets and games from Kapil Games by subscribing on Patreon. In the next video, we will dive deeper into advanced controller settings and I will show you how to modify and add animations. Thank you for watching and good luck with your projects!